All right. My name is Paris Gray. I am an insurance broker at Bill Gear Insurance, and I am back again to go over the Paris acronym. It is an acronym of my name, Paris, to help you figure out the perfect number for life insurance. So, just a little bit more about myself and why I came up with this acronym that you can see my calculator on the screen, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I find out when I'm speaking to a lot of individuals, half of the community doesn't have any life insurance at all. The other part might have some life insurance, but they just, I know we got something. I know we pay $50 a month. I know we do this, but they really don't know if they're covered. Then I noticed as I started to have different life insurance conversations with individuals, they would say, well, Paris, how much insurance do I need? Like, what do you know? And when I was first starting out, I would say things like dream big or what about this? And it would never fail that sometimes I would say something and it would spark the interest of somebody and they would say, like, I never thought of that. So I was thinking, how can I make this easier to explain for myself and easier for my customer? And I came up with the Paris acronym. So here is my worksheet. I'm very happy to go over this with you together. I also send this out to individuals if they kind of want to play around with it by themselves after we spoke. I have a PDF version just in case you forget what we talk about here today. But of course, ask questions as they come up. Feel free to have me go over something specific and then we'll go from here. So, just a little bit more about the Paris acronym and why I love it is because this will get you started. How we fill in those gaps once you get these numbers together will be based on you individually. So, some of the products you use to fill these gaps might not be the traditional type of life insurance that you are used to seeing. It could be a cancer policy, it could be insurance through your work, or different things like that. So let's just get into it. So, all right, here we go. The first one we're going to start with is P. Protect your income. So, when you're looking to protect your income, right here, I think about in my head, I might be thinking about this because I'm thinking about when people retire. But when I'm looking at my life insurance and thinking about protecting my income, I am thinking about today who all depends on my income today. Essentially, we're thinking about replacing income in the event you are no longer here, like you pass away or something like that. But I also like to keep in the back of my mind, like, let me protect my income in case the next decade or something, I run out of the income that I have today. I didn't mention this earlier in this video, but we are always planning to, at minimum, the age of 97. So we're in year 2025. I think when I'll be nine, no, when I'll be 100, it'll be year 2085 or something like that. So just you could Google and figure out how expensive things will be in when you turn the age 100 or 97. So protect your income. So right here, I have some mock numbers. So thinking about my daughter is 12 right now. If I died tomorrow, um, or anybody, this example that I'm using, they wanted to protect their income for 10 years. So let's say our income is 50,000. All right. And we have young children, or we have a spouse, or we have something like that. So when I'm figuring out how much income I want to replace, let's go ahead and do a decade. I feel like that's fair. And you can really think about this in your own way. So you see right there, that's already 500,000. But when you are figuring out your life insurance magic number, just think about who depends on your income and what you want to do. When I explained this to Janelle, I told her, like, hey, if I passed away today, or if I pass away when you're an adult, I would like to think that she's already working, but I still, as a parent, what would my income contribute to? So think about that too. If you don't, maybe you make more than 50K, maybe you make 100K, but you want this certain income. So really like have that conversation with yourself about what does protecting my income and how long do I want to protect it? What does that mean for me? And I believe me, I've got a ton of think questions that you can think through if you need help with that. So right here for protect our income, we have 50,000 a year, years to replace 10,000. We know right there we're already at 500,000. Okay, and we're not worried about how much this is going to cost because we might fill these gaps with a mix of products, and that is not what we're worried about. The numbers should not deter us. We are coming up with a strategy for our future, for our dreams. Now, debts and obligation. Here we go. So when you think about debts and obligations, we can get into your specific um, debt scenario to see how that will be covered because there's a mix of different items that collectors will try and collect after someone passes away. But for just to think about it easier, when you're thinking about debts right now, if you have a home, if you've purchased a home, if you have properties, if you have things like mortgages and things that you would want to leave in your family and to still be here after you're gone, you're going to want to make sure that you have the money for those loved ones to be able to continue taking care of it. Even if you have things that are going to need to be sold, pretty positive there's going to be seller's costs, all those type of things. For me, I have a child. So if you have a child, this is where I would think about do they plan to go to college? And these days, whether or not college is the future, something is the future after high school. Maybe it's trade school. Maybe you already know they have a hobby and they're going to be the type of person that starts a business. So you want to go ahead and set aside for that. So for this example, I'm going to look over at my sheet. Okay, mortgage. You might not have more car loans. I don't know. Other loans, future expenses. So, just to start, for other loans, let's just say they can get rid of everything. Just say the assets that's considered debts, your mortgages, they're going to sell. Let's just leave them $7,000 for like how do you liquidate the above things? Above here, I should use this. And then for future expenses, not really sure. Right here, I'm thinking in my head what the daughter would do. Let's just add 12K. And again, this is something you need to consider, even if you base off yourself, like if your child is young. If you went to college, how much do you want to set aside for that? I told my daughter that she's going to need a scholarship. So this money that I set aside or I would set aside for her college would be more so of how do I supplement and help her as a parent. So that's what, and feel free to say hello to me and drop a question. I see a few folks joining in, but feel free to ask questions if you have any. But right here, when we're talking about adding up future debts, you're going to think of debts. Just think about if you were no longer here today, what debts do you have that you still want to stay and you want to have the funding to take care of? Or what future debts do you want to make sure that you put money towards? So this is going to be future weddings or things like that. All right. So next, remember final expenses. Let's scroll on down. You can see at the bottom, your insurance need is calculating. So we're figuring that out. So for funeral and burial, I am just going to say, even without asking you your wishes, even without asking your wishes, I'm going to put that at 15,000. Well, why Paris? Well, recently, if you Googled it, I think the newspaper obituary will say that they start at $300. I did not even look and see how long this lady obituary was for her husband, but I know that the bill was $800. So, of course, it goes into play with how long you want it to run, how many words you use, and all of that good jazz. But I had a really, what I feel like was a great conversation with my mom because I think oftentimes, depending on the culture or the ritual, a lot of times my mom will say, "Don't you be wasting my money on all of that and blah, blah, blah." And I think that goes from a scarcity mindset a little bit. I feel like if you've been invested in your community, if you've done a lot with your life, you should be memorialized in some way. So whether or not you want to be cremated, have a service, or have anything like that, set 15K aside simply because you want to be memorialized some type of way. And anything that has to be done is not free. And in 2025, obituaries for the newspaper are $800. Okay, so let's just start there. Don't use it. It can go on to your beneficiary. It's perfect. Now, let's look. I got so excited I didn't even change my banner. Now, this is my favorite part. Include dreams and legacy. And if you are watching this and run across this, please feel free to follow my page because this is my favorite part to talk about, including dreams and legacy. A lot of times we treat life insurance like a check mark. Got final expense taken care of, but as you can see already, final expense was just the R. There's so many other things to consider. So when you include dreams and legacy in the dreams part, I want you to really think about living benefits while you are alive and retired. Remember, we're going to the age of, let's just say, 100. Pretty positive that even if you work until your last day, you might not be going at the same speed that you're going today. So, what do you want your retirement to look like? I'll be 40 this year and I already have a Social Security login. I can see clearly right now, based on the 10 quarters that they have in my life, what Social Security would look like as far as an estimated retirement amount. I can already see today how much Medicare costs my clients monthly. So if I just plan for the future based on today, I need to put some money in this dreams part because I automatically know, I think for healthcare alone, I'm going to want some extra money coming in here. And while I say this is because even if we use different insurance products to fill the gaps for this insurance, um, I'm going to include a whole life insurance policy that's going to earn cash value and pay dividends so that in 30, 40 years, when you're like, Paris, I've done all I can do. My kids is grown. My house is this, blah, blah, blah. I am going to go to Bali. Then you'll be able to have the money for that. So let's put something in there. Let's just see. Charity, that can go. Don't let the titles of these different things get you too caught up. For a charity, that could be maybe you have godchildren that you know are going to go into business for themselves and you want to do something. I had another client that in this section, she put 10K for each kid. I can't remember exactly why, but let's just see. Let's just put 100,000 in our dream fund. Okay. Now, this is where we're at here. Now, this is where it gets exciting. Cash savings. This is where you're going to put in like a 401k or anything else that you plan to. We've added all of this up, but this is where we subtract anything that you already have saved. So think about 401ks or anything that you set aside specifically for your retirement. You can go ahead and separate this here. Some folks, maybe you've been saving money for a college fund and your kid doesn't go to college, or maybe they will go to college. I don't know. But put savings here. So let's just say, well, I've got a strong 10K saved here. So we'll take that out. Now here, I mentioned briefly, I'll go into some other videos really about what, again, in detail about what whole life insurance is versus term life insurance or IULs and all of those different things. But right here, when I asked you if you have life insurance and you say, yes, I have it through work, that is almost the same as saying you don't have any life insurance until you come to the P.A.R.I.S acronym and put it in the S, because the insurance you have through a employer is term insurance, which means that is only for the term of time that you are employed. Less than 2% of individuals actually cash out and get their money from the employer term life insurance. If you get a terminal illness or something, chances are, even if you wanted to, you might not be able to work until your dying day. Or on the other side, if you get a terminal illness, you might want to say, forget working, I'm going to enjoy my family. Okay. Either way, a lot of times you plan to have that employer until your kid is grown. Most of the time, you can get a lot for a little. Always get it. You'll add it in here. So let's just say you have 300,000. We're not going to put any other thumbs because that's going to be your spending money or whatever. So now you're going to say, hey, this is my magic number. 324,000. I would probably add a little bit more on that just for inflation, but we would start and see on average what that would run us. And everybody's prices are different. Whether you could, let me see. One moment. Okay. Yes, everybody's actual price for life insurance is going to be different because it's going to be based on your age and your health. And the way we fill the gap for this $300,000 of insurance is going to be different. This is when I start to ask you questions about your health, about your family history, about the work, about your future, how you want to retire, are you independent, all of those good things. So we put all of that together and we get your number, and then we start having the conversation about how we fill those gaps. So I wanted to just get right to how you use this calculator. I'd love for you to do this with me. I don't expect you to be able to go through all this alone. This is just to give you a little insight. So please, if you run across this, just tag somebody that you know needs to hear it. Most of the time when I talk to folks, even if they're telling me the truth or not, they say they already have their insurance taken care of. But if you do, I strongly, 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 strongly encourage you to look over it. At least once a year. I met this wife. Her husband had literally just passed away 2 weeks ago. We all cried together, but she said every Valentine's Day, they called it a love day, and they would go through everything that they had as far as like policies, bills, who paid for what. And it was interesting because he started to have memory issues before he passed away. And she said those last few years were really hard. But look at how many years she knew clearly what their wishes were. So I thought that was great. Of course, if you need help calculating your number, this is what I live and dream to do. So I'm happy to help you with that. Please let me know if you have any questions. Even after this is not live anymore, just drop your questions in the comments and I will find them. Thank you so much for listening to me today. Please share this video, subscribe wherever you see it, and I look forward to talking to you again next time.